All right, Brakatay Hawa, Brakatay Hawa Shai, Brakatay Hawa, Brakatay Hawa Shai, Brakatay Hawa, Brakatay Hawa Shai. All praise to Yahweh by Shemar Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Now this is just an update on prophecies. You know what's going on over there in Turkey and Afrin, Syria. You know, Turkey just went into Syria. You know, to get them Kurds out of there, who they call terrorists. You know, that America is supplying weapons to. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video, and I'm getting to a couple of scriptures.
Turkey's military operation against Kurdish forces is entering its third day, with Ankara's tanks now moving into Syrian territory. It comes after the USA announced it is training Kurdish militia to establish a new border force in the region. Well, the US has acknowledged that two of its allies in the Middle East are in conflict, and the US Defense Secretary said that Washington had been consulted about Turkish operations. With more, is Ilya Petrenko.
Unbelievable. Is this real? A NATO member telling Daddy, you know who I mean? Amerika'nın behave yourself or I'll point a gun at you. Am I exaggerating? A bit. Mr. Erdogan didn't say these exact words, but Turkey's got a prime minister who pretty much did.
Anyone who gives logistical support to the YPG is Turkey's target.
For the record, the YPG equals the Kurdish army, and for all these years, who's been giving the Kurds all kinds of support? Right. Hey, America. Over the week.
Right, so I'm focusing on that point. America and Turkey are allies, according to them being with NATO. You know, they represent a defense force that's supposed to work together to quell or fight off enemies, basically. You know, and America is becoming Turkey's enemy because America's supplying weapons to Turkey, which them Kurdish are terrorists, are known terrorists. You know, over there in that region, Turkey, you know, keeps emphasizing. So, you know, and they becoming a problem. And everybody know that America is supplying them to help take down Syria, as well as, you know, to help take down Syria. But I'm going to grab the scripture real quick. This is let me see. This is Luke chapter 11. I'm starting at verse 17. It says, "But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth." Right, so America is bringing division, which is breaking up the relationship that Turkey has with it, because America also said that they won't go supply them with no more weapons. So like, let's say, supply them with no more weapons. Basically they made like little peace agreements and stuff, man. Them working together on NATO as a peace agreement, that they'll be allies and work to help fight against opposing forces that come against them, basically. But on this hand, America is supplying the opposing forces and continue to make so-called covenants, agreements that they keep putting in the news and breaking them, going right behind Turkey back and breaking them agreements by their actions, man. You know, a lot of that is up in like multiple news articles. You have to read all that though. But it says, if Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because ye say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. Right, so, you know, Turkey is being divided against America. But not only is Turkey, you know, coming against America about the stuff it's doing, there's other nations that are involved with NATO that's coming against America also, which is dividing it up. And, you know, they ain't gonna be able to stand together. So, you know, I watched another video that basically showed that America was by itself. All the nations are, you know, are not really messing with America like how they used to. All right, this is Psalms chapter 55. Verse 20, it says, He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant, and they did that ultimately to us, but they using them same tactics on their so-called allies, which is these other nations, man. Turkey is a prime example. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, and he's showing it. You know, he's supplying weapons to supplying and funding weapons for other terrorist groups, you know, to help take down certain nations. Really, and it's all the elites to help bring about this new world order, man. It says, oh, and not to mention, Slovakia, they tried to do that in Turkey and America were allies with NATO, but America tried to start a whole coup in Turkey, which brought about the friendship of Turkey and Russia, because Russia and Turkey got into it because Turkey shot down one of the Russian planes. You know, Russia was upset with that. Putin was upset with that. And then what happened after that was America tried to start a coup in Turkey, and President Putin warned Turkey. Then they became allies, and now America and Turkey getting into it, man. So, you know. But that's prophecy also, because it says they shall hate the whore in Revelations and burn her with fire. Everybody that was at peace with America is going to burn America with fire, man. You know. Yeah, it says Psalms 55:20. It says he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Right? So the white man, Esau, this devil, will tell you anything. What you want to hear, make it sound good to you and everything. No, we're not going to, supply him with weapons. No, we're not going to, come against you. We all work for NATO. We all together. You're going to help each other out, in this. And on the back end, he's supplying, these terrorists with weapons, and his plan, America's plan, is to build another army of 30,000 plus troops on that region. So yeah, man, that's just prophecy, man.
Well, the US has acknowledged that two of its allies in the Middle East are in conflict, and the US Defense Secretary said that Washington had been consulted about Turkish operations. With more, is Ilya Petrenko.
Unbelievable. Is this real? A NATO member telling Daddy, you know who I mean? Americanın behave yourself or I'll point a gun at you. Am I exaggerating? A bit. Mr. Erdogan didn't say these exact words, but Turkey's got a prime minister who pretty much did.
Anyone who gives logistical support to the YPG is Turkey's target.
For the record, the YPG equals the Kurdish army, and for all these years, who's been giving the Kurds all kinds of support? Right. Hey, America. Over the weekend, the Kurds were extended an olive branch. That's what Ankara calls its military op. The Kurds say they repelled an attack on Sunday, but where does the YPG get its guns? America. Tayyip Erdogan couldn't care less why Washington's been helping the Kurds. To destroy ISIL, for this man, the Kurdish militias are no better than terrorists. That explains his latest messages to America.
The U.S. is in the process of creating a terror army on our border. What we have to do is nip this terror army in the bud. America, do not encroach on our borders. Do not provoke us, or we will run out of patience.
Does anyone from the U.S. government have anything to say?
We urge Turkey to exercise restraint and ensure that its military operations remain limited in scope and duration and scrupulous to avoid civilian casualties.
Some very restrained counsel there. To be restrained. Think about it. Mr. Erdogan rants at America. U.S. officials don't hit back. Turkey rolls out the tanks, flies out the warplanes, sends soldiers over the border. Washington basically keeps stum. After all, this isn't about Kim, whose slightest squeak makes Donald Trump, for one, roar. So perhaps the Turks and the Kurds have succeeded in one thing together: reducing America to baffled silence.
Ilya Petrenko there. Well, we spoke with a former Turkish ambassador to the US who believes that America should be held responsible for the military standoff in northern Syria.
The U.S. is responsible, is the reason why Turkey felt compelled to intervene and to start this operation in the first place, because the U.S., even though they backtracked after the initial announcement, they said they want to establish an army, a force, a parallel force. In all countries of the world, there is only one flag and one army. Ankara was determined, even before such an announcement, that the YPG should not be armed, but our allies, particularly the U.S., did not listen and continued their support with heavy weapons, with 4,000 truckloads of weaponry to YPG. Against whom? Against the Syrian regime? Against Turkey?
Right, so that's the whole plan. America is coming against Syria. Not only is it coming against Syria, it's coming against Turkey. And Turkey is supposedly supposed to be one of his allies. Give me 1 second. All right, this is Salakia. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." Right. So, the season that we're living in right now is the season of war, man. That's the time we're living in, man. I'm gonna jump. This is verse 8. It says, "A time to love, a time to hate, a time of war." See, I jumped the gun. "And a time of peace." Right, so we're not in the time of peace. We are in the time of war. Edom, the white man, was blessed with the sword to bring about these wars. That's the lot that the Lord gave him. Starting from the elites, man. The elites used the rest of these his pawns and shit, man. Because the elites is really controlling all this to help bring in this new world order, which in turn is going to bring in the rule of Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel, right along with Yahweh and Yahushua first. But this is Revelations chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "And I saw when the Lamb represents Yahushua, opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were a noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, 'Come and see.'" Now I'm going to jump. This is verse 4. It says, "And there went out another horse that was red," which represents Esau, "and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the world." And as you can see, that's what's happening. All over the world, this is happening. Esau because he's the one that's running everything, is causing wars everywhere, man. And they're using America to do it, the elites. It says to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And all you gotta do is go through the history. You will see that these white people be fighting each other in wars and stuff all the time. It says, and there was given unto him a great sword. And you know that sword represents a killing instrument, man. Now I'm gonna get Genesis 27, because that was his blessing. And that word sword can mean destruction also. You know, Esau brings about destruction. He was given the power to bring destruction. This is Genesis chapter 27, verse 37. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him. For servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Right? You know, Esau gets the best part of this world, man. This is his kingdom. It says, and of the dew of heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live, right? By destruction shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, which is, he gonna really serve us in the kingdom of heaven. And it shall come to pass, and, you know, they also served us during the time of King Solomon. But it says, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right, this is during the time of King Solomon.
Turkey's military operation.
It says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother. Right. So yeah, man, the Lord blessed Esau with the sword, you know, to bring about destruction unto this world. That's why it says in Revelations to take peace from the world, you know, and, you know, all his allies, he making war with his own allies, man. But that's all prophecy, man, because this Edomite devil is starting with the elites, and the rest of the societies of this world has to come down. But that's the end of the lesson. All praise to Yahweh by Shema Rashai. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well. And salutations to the brothers that stood in the truth and sincerity. Shalom.